Pest Rogue for Casie up against the Odd Warrior for tom60229, which I have to imagine is going to be working in Casie's favor. Given his very unaggressive lineup, I feel like the Odd Warrior could be struggling to take a game here.
Yeah, definitely. We did say that if it was to take a win, it would have to sneak in the Q versus Malagos Druid.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it looks like it's not very favored against things like Death Rattle Hunter and against Even Lock.
The Super Colliders, you should be in a pretty decent shot to be taking that matchup.
That is very true, but the first game of the series will be the Death Rattle Hunter for Casie up against Even Lock from tom60229. And in last series, we did see a very epic game of Death Rattle Hunter played by Kribo. It was really great to kind of pick his brain onto the match because I think that looked so over at the beginning, but managed to win it. It was actually Secret Hunter, that's my bad, but it felt like Death Rattle Hunter because of that Rexstar pulling all its weight.
I believe the last time we saw this matchup today was Saiyan up against Tyler, where I think the Even Warlock actually ended up taking the game in a very surprise fashion right towards the end when we thought that Tyler's Death Rattle Hunter would be in a very nice spot to be taking it. But Casie had some choice words about Tyler's play in that series, so I imagine he will be probably, from where he's sat at least, in a better spot to be taking this.
Casey's definitely a guy that you'd like to be your friend if you're somebody who can take criticism and learn from it.
He's also someone that you definitely don't want to be your friend if you can't take criticism.
Of course, it goes both ways, but I'm sure that Tyler will be cleaning it up for his next plays throughout the day. As for Tom, he hasn't hit things like Mountain Giant, but even if he did, Casie has that time-old answer of Hunter's Mark and Candle Shot's deal with the big minions from Even Lock. And really, that's the first checkpoint for the Hunter. If they can't be the aggressor in the matchup with eggs and a lot of Death Rattle procs, they need to make sure that they can deal with the first onslaught of these tall minions from the Even Lock before they can kind of get to their power turns of Cubes and Katrina.
I mean, that's in my opinion, the mark of any tournament Hearthstone deck at the moment is you either have to be an aggro deck, which doesn't mind if they play an 8/8 Giant, or you have to have an answer to it. That's why we're seeing so much Naturalize being teched into Druids nowadays, when for the longest time it wasn't being run at all, because there are just so many big minions coming down on early turns.
Vulgar Homunculus is actually putting in quite some work, such that it will kind of delay Casie from being able to deal with the Twilight Drake, which is no doubt coming down this turn. If, however, Tom takes, because of the buff on the Keleseth for the egg, though, it does make things a little bit easier for Casie.
Yeah, we're seeing more and more players going for the route of Twilight Drake first, then you follow up with the Mountain Giant, even more so when you have the Skulking Geist in hand, because that can take care of Hunter's Marks against Hunter, Naturalizes against Druid. A lot of the removal spells are at the 1 cost at the moment, so you do want to be throwing out your less valuable minions first to soak up that hit.
Yeah, it's true. And against Hunter, it's doubly scary, I would say, because they not only have the 1 cost answer, which is Hunter's Mark, which is, I guess, equivalent to Naturalize, they also have that Spider Bomb.
Yeah, the Spider Bomb would be wreaking some pretty big havoc here for tom60229, no matter which minion he decides to go for. I think what he really needs to be worried about is the ability for 5/5s to be generated by Casie, be it through Play Dead, maybe with a Houndmaster short as well. At which point I suppose the Giant lines up better, but not by much. The fact that you have Hellfire to even the playing field a little bit, I think it's very, very close as to whether you go Drake or Giant.
It's a really sick turn from Casie. He has the option to actually pop the egg right now if he wants to use that to clean up the Giant instead of the Candle Shot, but he, I think, very wisely preserves the Death Rattle minion on board because he may have procs in the future, or it's just more insurance against AoE.
Yeah, I like this a lot from Casie, just giving you, like you said, more resilience from AoE. The fact that he has Houndmaster Shore available to come down next turn, it could just be 1 extra damage he's getting by leaving the egg intact, because then he can rush the Devil Saw right into whatever whatever minion is created.
And that's kind of the reason why I think this matchup, not heavily, but slightly favors the Death Rattle Hunter. If they can just get through those first few big minions, they just pack more stuff and more efficient plays onto the board than the Even Lock, which after turn 3-4, where they get their power spikes, 5-6 is just often things like Shroom Brewers.
Now, And for Tom, something like a Shroomber is looking like it wouldn't actually be that bad, because whatever he's going to do in the next few turns, it has to be relatively defensive, because there is the potential for an awful lot of damage to come through now for Casie.
Casie there had the option to go for a Shaw, but it didn't really feel good to be trading into this Twilight Drake. It damages his minions way too much. I much prefer going for just this coin Savannah high main, going fully on the offensive, knowing that even if a Hooked Reaver were to come down, he has so much power on board, and the Houndmaster Shaw waiting in the wings to actually immediately get the Death Rattles on 2 minions to deal damage as well.
It's just so weird at the moment to see someone deliberately making a board with more than 3 minions in play. I'm just so conditioned to never play into mind control tech anymore that when you're against even lock, you have to reshift how your brain works.
Might have to nerf mind control tech to 4 mana and call it a buff.
Honestly, I would not be surprised.
So Shaw looks like it is coming down, and Casie, it's always mentioned, but he is one of just the fastest players in Hearthstone, and he's had almost no hesitation, at least for his first plays in a turn throughout this whole game so far.
And while I believe it's not quite lethal available on this turn, it is getting remarkably close, and given that Tom is well under the 15 health threshold, Casie will not hold back one bit, trying to close out the game on the very next turn, unless an incredibly defensive line can be made by Tom here. And I have to be honest, I just do not think it's there.
Nope, even if he puts up 2 minions and taunts them up, there's just more minions on board for Casie. He's got the hero power, not enough mana to go for Spellstone first and then Hellfire. Nothing that can be done for our current world champion, and I think Casie is going to take a quick 1-0 lead in a very favorable, not just match, but overall series, I think.
Kind of, to me, showing a less demonstrated way that Houndmaster Shaw is very good, where usually it's just thrown down on turn 4, and if they can't deal with it, then it's very powerful. But here it was used when there's a bunch of Death Rattles already in play, just to make those trades so much more favorable for Casie. Really just indicating how unbelievably versatile of a card it is.
Look at the sick VM, Dara.
That's a pretty nice.
Is it necessary? I don't think so.
It's Casie. He's got to show a little bit of BM.
Okay.
And this is the real benefit that we're starting to see now from Casey's lineup versus Tom's lineup, is it's not only the fact that Odd Warrior might be struggling to take a victory, it's the fact that big hype for Token Druid, the new Strong Shell Scavenger with Saronite Chain Gang build as opposed to the Violet Teacher version. But now in this tournament, we're seeing a lot of the players in top 16 with Malagos Druid, which is a pretty miserable matchup up against the Odd Warrior, which I imagine will have been featuring into Tom's thinking when building this lineup.
Yes, and it is going to be that matchup that we were talking about a while ago, Even Lock versus Odd Warrior, where the Even Lock, as you prefer to play it, can just smork them down with individual tall minions, or if you play more than one, just make sure that they're not too weak to Super Collider. And then there's this alternative style of play to just tap minimally if you get your Geist and Gul'dan early. And it's not uncommon to see people just switch between game plans. More often than not, I think you start with the trying to put out consistent threats, and if that doesn't work, then you can maybe hold back on the taps and try to win through fatigue.
I totally agree. The fact that you have that 1 mana hero power means that you can do the kind of classically very powerful play in Hearthstone where you make a big board or one big minion. If they have the answer, the game continues, you have refill, and if they don't have the answer, you probably just win. And when you do that every turn of the game for like 10 turns in a row as Casie with Mountain Giant, Twilight Drake, Lich King, Bone Mare, Dread Infernal, all these threats, it just means eventually tom60229, I imagine, just won't have the answer.
Yeah, and we saw Tom go for the immediate Omega Assembly there because of that threat of Skulking Geist in this matchup. You don't necessarily have the time to get greedy and play it until later. Although I have seen some people not play the anti-greedy play of just like going for it immediately. There's sometimes a risk you can take of like trying to wait for if the Geist doesn't come down on 6, depending on how many cards you saw your opponent keep. But Casie did keep quite a few, I think, so I definitely get why Tom just wanted to get that out of the way.
One thing I was surprised about with Omega Assembly is how bored Twitch chat got, how quickly Twitch chat got bored of calling it Omega LOL Assembly. I was anticipating that one would last for a while.
I thought it would just be the new name, just like 4 mana 7/7 for
exactly.
that card in Shaman that I don't even know the name of anymore.
I'm sure I've
Faceless
initiated a renaissance of Omega LOL.
All right. As for Casie, so that first game plan we were talking about of just playing down Giant after Giant is not really coming together because he doesn't have the Giant, but he can coin Twilight Drake. It just seems like the strongest play onto the board. It's just unfortunate that Tom has this Shield Slam to deal with it very simply. It's just crazy that only after 3 armor ups you're able to do wow, that's even better.
I think Tom is very happy with that because while Warrior struggles to do that one extra little bit of damage to close out these minions with the silence, so does Warlock, really. Unless you want to go for a Defile, which clears off your Drake anyway, the ability to deal with his owl is actually not really there for Casie, unless he wants to just keep developing his minions.
And that's what he's going to do, just try to max out the damage he can get to face with this Twilight Drake. And I say that the Drake is better answered by the owl because you'd rather be saving at least 1 Shield Slam for a Mountain Giant should it come down, whereas silencing a Mountain Giant doesn't really work.
I'll agree with you there.
So I think he's going to go for Dynamatic, and most of the time it should clear the Twilight Drake, but we've seen some crazy odds happen today, and yeah, that's about the average result, I would say.
Yeah, definitely the expected outcome. One of the reasons why I like Dynamatic, you're usually going to get the expected outcome when this card is played.
How is that different from Volcano?
I also like Volcano.
Oh, okay.
It's just different to like Knife Juggler or something, where it's just...
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You have less procs.
Exactly.
And so the variance could be greater, I suppose.
Yeah. I should say I wouldn't like it more if it procced 100 times. It's not directly proportional.
That is fair. So the second Stonehill going to be coming out for Tom here. Oh, sorry, the first Stonehill coming out for Tom here, and he can get the Tar Creeper just as something to play onto this turn. But the Snail Pick I can definitely understand because you are so starved for ways of dealing with Mountain Giants if you use the first Shield Slam and don't draw the second.
Yeah, I really like this. I think this shows a good understanding from Tom, which is that in the next few turns, he wants Casie to be developing minions. He doesn't want to put things like Tar Creeper in the way. He just wants Casie to develop a little bit too much if he can bait him into it. Then he'll go with Brawl or Super Collider or even a Reckless Flurry, as was kept on the mulligan, to deal with those minions. Then, when it's Lich King time, he can play Stubborn Gastropod into the turn 8, the real power turn for Casie, and it will really mess up his play.
Game plan has been coming together quite nicely for Casie, getting the Geist on curve, and only having seen 1 Omega Assembly feels pretty good. Tom with not the cleanest Super Collider, but you take this. I mean, ideally, you just like the minions to kill each other and still preserve your minion. I feel like that's what happens to me most of the time, but I guess I'm just not too good at playing around that card.
It's very, very difficult to do.
Casie can just curve out single big threat after single big threat. I thought this turn looked like Dread Infernal, but he picked up the Twilight Jade off the top to go along with this Ooze, which is really powerful.
Yeah, I think he just wants the biggest health minion possible to curve into Bone Mare right now. As he rightly should. The ability for Odd Warrior to deal with that minion is kind of limited, actually.
I do feel like, though, if Bone Mare were to come out and buff a minion on this board, it might be the Ooze, just because it's better against Brawl.
Good point.
But I don't know the numbers for Reckless Flurry as well, because Reckless Flurry is also punished if you buff the Ooze, because then Tom can maybe armor up out of range. I don't know if you can have 10 armor, but it seems like this Odd Warrior can just tank up to unimaginable levels every time.
It tends to feel that way.
So are you liking starting off with Stonehill for this turn? Can even Zola it to get even more value?
Yeah, nothing feels like quite amazing here for Tom. Like, Hero Power Reckless Flurry is definitely a consideration, I think, on this turn, as he's going for here. Arguably a little bit aggressive. But what this does allow him to do is the play I was talking of Stubborn Gastropod into turn 8. And if you were ever going to play this little snail, now is the time to do so.
It's quite strong indeed. It's kind of like the old Twisting Nether into Doomsayer, but in a smaller fashion, and Casie picks up a usage for his Mossy Horror, and straight away with the Azalina.
Just realizing his hand didn't do enough there, trying to steal the Blood Reaver Gul'dan primarily, which I think is why he's going for it.
Can die immediately. He knows that Tom has access to an immediately buffed Spellstone because of this Dread Inferno.
Good point. And making a very nice play around Defile as well, just not giving really any ability to clear off more than one minion on this turn. Because again, perfect information should lead to perfect play.
Yeah. I'm sure that Casie will really want to preserve the Lich King for at least more than one turn. You don't want to play it onto a board or a hand that you know Tom can immediately clear it, because this is one minion that generates so much value in itself. And in a game which can often go to fatigue, like this matchup, every single bit of value you can squeeze out helps a lot. Just one proc of the end of turn effect to get you Frostmourne can be such a huge deal.
And Tom going with the Lich King, which always feels kind of sad when you're playing it into a wide board from your opponent, because they will generally have, at the very least, the ability to just punch through with their minions, but often they can tap through to Black Knight, Silence, all kinds of powerful ways to push this damage through to face.
Another Giant onto the board. Yeah, Casie knows that the hand has been replaced, so if there was a brawl, it's gone and it's unlikely to be top-decked.
Oh, and it does now mean for Casie, because of Tom's decision to, like you said, remove his hand of any kind of good removal, the best he has available to him is Death and Decay.
It does activate Defile though, and I think between that, those two cards and Spellstone should get a job done on the Mountain Giant.
Which I guess is the big one.
Oh, yes, with the Dynamatic, it's even cleaner.
Oh, perfect board clear.
Very well spotted from Tom there. And now Casie is on the job of refill, and little by little his resources are being depleted, and he is 5 cards deeper in fatigue.
Yeah, Casey's plan in this game was never really to get to fatigue. To be honest, it was to have found Blood Reaver cooldown a little bit sooner than now, I would imagine. Getting the Hooked Reavers down as soon as possible is pretty important, because once you do play Blood Reaver cooldown, it is incredibly unlikely in this matchup that you will play the Hooked Reavers for their full 7/7 value. So you really want to find them before you get the Death Knight activated at all costs.
Casie there had the option to go for the Dread Infernal over the Lich King, knowing that Lich King can be cleared by some combination of Spellstones or even just its Bone Marrow, which is really strong. With a... Oh, sorry, that's not quite enough. He knows that the clear is possible, but awkward if it's double Spellstone.
I think he's happy to take this, even if it's Dread Infernal Spellstone. It's really not bad for Tom. And we can see that the second Dynamatic was picked up instead for Tom, which is a really nice way to swing board back in his way, because while I imagine Tom is not trying to win at the moment through board control in terms of delivering a lethal, he's definitely going to be trying to just run Casie out of resources. When you're behind on board against Old Warrior, it starts to feel very unlikely that you'll ever be able to deliver control.
With the pickup of Frostmourne though, and Casey's able to take one of the best minions with it, which will put him 1 card forward. That's the opposite of behind in fatigue. Less deep in fatigue once he revives it. It's a pretty good one, and I think that there is some consideration for delaying the Gul'dan a little bit just to get even more value out of it, especially knowing that the Warrior hand was replaced at some point. This is very scary though. Casie should still know 4 out of the 5 cards from Tom's hand.
So the options are now available to Casie. Hooked Reaver. Oh, no, sorry.
Yeah, I think it does involve a Spellbreaker in some capacity with the Hooked Reaver.
It's a lot of damage to be taking, but I guess you, if you go Hooked Reaver Spellstone, you would still not be dying to just clearing off the board and the attack from the 3/4 Dynamatic.
It's also a beast itself onto the board, which is likely to bite the dust this turn, so it will come back immediately with Gul'dan. Tom has the same type of clear available to him though.
He is wondering, is it worth it to put my Dynamatic down to the point where it dies to the Frostmourne on this turn? I think if he can make Casie have to tank the 7 damage, he's probably pretty happy with any line he takes this turn.
Really great play from Tom there, which is really kind of backbreaking for Casie. He's running out of good ways to remove this. But with the Hellfire, I think a Defile play is open to him again.
Blood Reaver Gul'dan on this turn then.
So how many homunculus have died?
And I was going to say we can see that that wouldn't work because of double Spellstone, but Casie knows that as well.
Not actually seeing a good way out of this for Casie. Is there some play with Spellbreaker, Hellfire Defile? So you'd put... Well, when you Spellbreaker one of the Dynomatics, it's yet another 4 health minion.
Yeah, that
Yes,
does clear off the board. You're down to 3 health, but you have, I suppose, cleared off the board. You haven't regained board control, which is what you need to be doing.
Yeah. Man, that is super scary, and I can't think of many draws for lethal for this Odd Warrior. It's not running Gore Howl or anything of the like.
Yeah, pretty much anything here that Tom can find. Just any minion he can throw down on the board to keep demanding answers from Casie is just perfect. He just needs to keep the pressure up before Blood Reaver Gul'dan comes down.
He will get this Darhorn Hatchling off the final Frostmourne tick, though, so that's another taunt in the way. And I think that's enough to save him from double Spellstone at 5. Or sorry, at 5 damage each, so...
Yes. We are seeing Casie breaking open the Frostmourne on this turn. Arguably an overextension, I think, into the... actually, no, when there's 6 health that kills you exactly, I think you have to kind of take the risk or you're just dead. Or actually, he would know that he's dead due to double spells then.
Yeah. And
So
suddenly, Tom's not in the greatest spot himself. Well, he does have removal this turn using Spellstone and Hero Power Reckless Flurry if he wants to. But he's kind of running out of resources himself. And the fact that Casie has played so many demons leading up to this Gul'dan, it's going to be difficult for Tom to get that final damage in. And as soon as Gul'dan comes down and you haven't killed them yet, it feels like you're never going to kill them.
It's so close to lethal on this turn, though. Like, if he had, well, I guess 3 more mana with the Reckless Flurry thrown in there as well, he could close out the game. But
or if he had found some way to damage his own face.
Yeah.
Inner Fire Face. That's not even an odd card. Yeah, I do think he still just has to go for the board clear, though. Maybe not.
Putting up taunts of his own. I suppose by leaving up the Hooked Reaver alive for the moment, it lessens the power of Blood Reaver Gul'dan on the following turn. It's probably one of the main reasons. And you just want to be leaving your 6-3 as healthy as possible for the moment, because that is Tom's win con.
Casie is being super greedy with the Gul'dan and playing with fire regarding his health total, but he knows that against Odd Warrior, there's very little they can do to actually burst you down.
Yeah.
So he was near the brink a few turns ago, but he's really pulled it back. And yeah, Tom is not looking in the best spot right now.
It's so insane that this has been pulled back. I was going to be touting this as a reason why, or just a big upset, because I would put the Even Warlock so ahead, but now I think we're going to be touting it as a reason why they're so far ahead, because even when they are brought down right to the threshold of dying, they can pull it back through not even just Blood Reaver Gul'dan, the taunts that they put in play, which are so powerful.
Yep. Absolutely agree. And Tom there, not going to use the Spellstone inefficiently like that, just going to get that pack into the pool. And is Tom, I mean, is Casie still going to delay the Gul'dan? I like, technically he could have traded and played Dread Inferno, get another demon into the pool, but yeah, this is just way too good to pass up. And he is now on the offensive, although it does activate his Mind Control tech.
Mind Control tech is exactly what Tom's going to go for, getting the very much desired result here.
Yeah.
This could be the swing around that Tom needed to pull this game back.
As soon as I say one player is on the offensive, the next guy just completely pulls it the other way around. But Dread Infernal can do quite a bit. It clears up Elise and...
yeah, you can clear off the Matriarch as well.
Yeah.
And then you're facing down 9 damage. You're at 11 up to 14 health, down to 13 because of the Dread Infernal.
Yeah. Maybe you don't hero power the Matriarch this turn, and instead hero power the Matriarch and not trade away your taunt.
Okay.
It's kind of delaying the Matriarch from going face, but I think it's also making the trades a bit more awkward for Tom that way. And the hand has disappeared! What's this new Azalina effect?
Yeah, we'll try and get that back as quick as possible because this game is still looking like it's going to be edging out in Casey's way, but it could still be anyone's game. Because as Casie does start to enter fatigue, there's a very good chance that Tom could just run him out of threats. If they keep trading card for card here, Tom will be pulling out of range of Casey's hero power. So he needs to find threats right now, or Casey's just out of the game.
Yeah, and Tom still got that Dr. Boom waiting around in those bottom 10 cards. And
That's true.
Casey's threats are very few left, I have to say. Bone Mare, Lich King have been expended already. Wow, that is an amazing draw for Tom as well.
Yeah, this is just everything Tom needs. Like I was saying a few turns ago, he doesn't need defensive options. He has so much health already. He just needs the most aggressive options possible to try and close out the game as quick as he possibly can.
Okay.
As does Casie. That's
Matriarchs for everyone. Tom, trying to think of, outside of Dr. Boom, what's the best thing you can get? I suppose any taunts should kind of just wait it out for a bit, or okay.
Yeah, he basically just wants any big minion. Like even Baku here, I think would be fine just to get another big minion on the board. Try to close it out.
As for minions left in Casey's deck, I don't think there's anything that the Owl particularly wants to hit anymore. But it does seem useless just to let the Ooze go face. And oh, there was still a Giant left in the deck for Casie, so that's definitely what he wanted to see there.
At the perfect mana cost as well.
Another 6/9 with the taunt. It's a close one, right? Would you prefer to have the 8/8 just to better challenge your opponent's Direhorn Matriarch? In that case, you would trade away the Ooze now, just so that it's the extra 1 damage, and it feels bad, but otherwise it's dying to the hero power.
Yeah, if you go for the 8/8, you are on the offensive here, but I think the fact that 1 damage is kind of difficult to deal at the moment, and it protects your other minions, you're kind of forced to go for this, because if he trades in a hero power into it as well, that's a hero power that isn't going on the 3/3.
That's true. It's really strong. Casie looks really on the ropes here.
His final last shot to close out this game.
Wow, I didn't know it was a Hook Reaver. This is like a pretty powerful last board if I've ever seen one. So if Tom just whiffs consecutively, no doubt Casie could win this. But that's not a whiff.
Ooh. If he can get himself a Volcano,
wow.
Direhorn.
Everything, it looks fun.
Yeah, the Ornery Direhorn looks pretty good to me though.
It does. It just has taunt.
He'll be considering holding it back for Ornery Direhorn into Spirit Echo to get 2 of them on the same turn, I suppose.
I guess Sherzan and Umbra's not too bad. Just like mana efficiency reasons, but it's also nice to be able to fit in that hero power, right? Divine Shield is making things awkward for Casie. He'd have to spend 1 hero power onto it. I guess it's the same as 3 health.
Yeah. Well, it's, yeah, because Casie really wants to protect his Giant at all costs, doesn't he? So he's never going to be attacking him with the Giant. It would always be hero power and hook to even. Yeah.
So the fatigue counter, essentially next turn Casie is equalized hero power heal for fatigue. So he will be then taking 1 damage, 2 damage, 3 damage. Dr. Boom is the draw for tom60229. I don't think Casie has the time to do this.
Yeah, and even with all this damage that Casey's pushing forward, it just doesn't feel like it's going to be doing enough. These pretty pathetic minions here from Tom should be enough to close out the damage and equalize this game.
Of course, Casie himself doesn't see the Dr. Boom, so in his mind he's thinking of whether this Giant could just do it by going face 3 turns in a row, but it doesn't really protect the Hook Reaver if you leave that minion up, so he goes for this trade.
Ooh.
Yeah. This Ziliax coming down should signal GG for Casie. Even as Spirit Echo.
Yeah, lovely way for Tom to close this one out. It was looking for quite a while there like Casie was going to be pulling it back, but I think the problem for him was just the removal lined up very nicely for Tom at the start of the game, being able to get rid of all the early threats, and then right at the end, all the big bombs for Casie just came a little bit too late. The Blood Reaver cooldown meant he has to tap too much. The Hooked Reaver was just a little bit too late to deliver that consistent damage. And the fact that Tom went for such an aggressive Azalina in that matchup meant he was just winning on board. He didn't even have to play
doesn't. So that's yet another tech which is great in the mirror, but it will be the Malagos Druid mirror up first. In which case, I'm waiting to see which one of them has ramp. Hopefully it's both or neither, but we can see Nourish in the hand for Tom.
Yeah, really nice way to get this game rolling, especially with the Twig as well. Means that he should be able to just get off to a pretty rip-roaring start. You do have to be a little bit careful in this matchup with drawing cards at all. Although it usually ends up, at least in the games I'm playing on ladder, which I'm sure are far from being perfectly played, the UI will be being played after you go for the branching paths for armor.
I really feel like Thompson already so ahead as early as now, which is unfortunately the case when you can see the hand from Druid looks so much cleaner than the other Druid's hand. He has Twig and Nourish and UI, and Casie, yes, he has the UI, but if you don't have the ramp to back it up, suddenly UI is the worst card to have in your hand.
Yeah, it doesn't even really give him the liberty to draw off branching paths to find that ramp, because then his hand would be so clogged up with all the cards that means he couldn't even play the Ultimate Infestation in the first place.
Finally, Casie hits that Nourish, and I would say that is a very timely draw, although a lot of his cards other than the UI are looking pretty dead. Dream Petal Forest, you don't want to play it in a hand with no minions.
Yeah, you want to be saving that for pretty much exactly Malagos. You can go for some kind of big tempo swing, like Lich King into Faceless Manipulator on the same turn. Casie is just letting rip though, only going to be reducing the cost of Faceless, but I suppose if you do have a Malagos, reducing the cost of Faceless, because it doesn't revert back to 4 like Fluke does, that's a pretty good way to guarantee yourself 22 damage to face with Malagos Copy and double Moonfire?
Yeah, it's quite good, even without those cheap mechanics of things like Twig and Floop. And I still think that Tom's in a pretty good position, though, because he has those minions to back up the ramp that he had going into the UI turn. And a lot of the time, you can go for this just as a win condition in the mirror. If you just have a Lich King that sticks, and then an Alexstrasza on the turn that follows up, it's really, really strong. But we can see Casie has some very clean answers, and the use of the Faceless there, very aggressive. Doesn't want to go for that big combo, but yeah, for the same reason I mentioned, just sticking a Lich King is really good in the mirror.
Yeah, I think you just want to be playing a little bit more tempo here, as Casie is showing us he's doing so. Even holding back the Naturalize there, because if you're expecting a Malagos on the following turn from your opponent, which I think is not outside the realms of possibility, or even just later on in the game when they go for a big Malagos combo, Naturalize is not a card that you can just throw away willy-nilly. You need to be able to deal with their big Malagos turn and then try and fatigue them afterwards, unless you want to go for just a big tempo swing like we're seeing Casie going for here.
Yeah. And for Tom, he'd really like to get rid of this Lich King easily by just expending the Naturalize, but it does prevent him from playing Alexstrasza this turn, which is very awkward in terms of mana usage. I don't really think he wants to be using 2 damage spells to deal with the Lich King, though, nor leaving it up. But there is an argument, I suppose, for just dropping the Alex here so that your next turn is a bit more free.
It does mean that if your opponent next turn wants to play Ultimate Infestation, that they can't, they don't have an ability to kill off the Alex with spells. They'd have to trade in their Lich King, which is pretty good for you.
It's a tough one for sure.
Yeah,
and Tom is instead just going to respect the Lich King, and I respect this play for sure. Leaving that up can do the craziest things for what we can see. The spell in Tom's hand, Death and Decay, is just an additional burst spell for Malagos, which can clear off a board on top of it.
Showing here, he doesn't even want to develop the Arcane Tyrant. I guess going into his opponent's turn 10 would give him a pretty good spot for Ultimate Infestation. Even then, like clearing out cards from your hand, if you want to go for an Ultimate Infestation, that feels like a pretty good way to go for it. But I wouldn't be surprised if for both players here, we just don't see that, because they actually have a pretty good amount of cards, and you do, again, need to be very careful about drawing cards in this matchup.
Casie there going for the spiders and an armor up there, realizing that Tom's Twig is ready to be activated at any time now, and he needs to go on the defensive. I like it a lot. And Tom there not going to save the Twig for some big Malagos combo, because this is just pretty good in itself.
Yeah, making one hell of a powerful board on this turn is Tom. Going to be trying to just out-tempo this game, I suppose, and he's going to be doing a pretty good job of that, unless Casie can find the necessary removal to deal with all these big minions.
Yeah, Naturalize is looking pretty good here, but I think he starts with Plague, and since you have the mana for that, might as well fit in the Ferocious Howl as well.
Yep, seems pretty simple if Casie does leave him without an answer for Malagos right now.
Yeah, and strangely enough also activates Tom's Mind Control tech if it were to be there, although it's not the best MC tech in the world. Ooh, Moonfire is a burn. That's a pretty crucial one.
Pretty good.
Especially when post-Alexstrasza, your opponent is still at 40 health.
Yeah, I think actually the fact that he's at 40 health maybe means that Moonfire isn't that devastating of a burn, because Tom very possibly will have to give up on the Malagos burn plan at this point. It would have to be such an exact combination of Dream Petal to reduce the Malagos while he still has Floop in hand. Then you go Malagos, Floop, Swipe, Moonfire, Moonfire, which even then might not be enough damage to close things out.
Yeah. Tom can go for a Spreading Plague of his own and buff it up with Branching Path, which is a very respectable board, which is not easy to clear. You can get rid of 2 Scarabs in the meantime. He's just going to go for that. And because you were talking about not having that huge burst as a win condition anymore, I was thinking of whether he would even drop the Floop there as an Arcane Tyrant, but it still has some merit and value being saved from Malagos as a board clear. If you just drop Malagos and the next turn Floop Swipe is really strong.
I think tom60229 here is starting to show signs of not panic, but you know, realization that the game may be not going perfectly to plan here, as Casey's had the answer to every single one of his plays so far. He has the Malfurion down a little bit earlier, which should be granting him an awful lot of extra armor throughout the game. So just going for double attack there on the branching paths, trying to just close out the game as quick as he possibly can.
And awkward for Casie there that he has to throw away the Moonfire to not have the possibility of discarding Malagos. It's a bit of burst given up for himself, but he knows that Tom also burned one of his own, so I guess it's even in that way.
And while we're saying that Tom might not be able to get the necessary damage in with a big combo, especially now that the other Moonfire has been burned, it's looking like Casie may be able to, given that Tom is at a lower health total. That is, however, if he's even able to get there, because still Tom is just keeping up with this plan of developing onto the board and getting big minions in play.
I mean, once he used that Twig, I think it was already the game plan to not go for the total Malagos burst, and I think he has seen 2 Naturalize from, or at least one from
just
Casie,
one, I think,
and that makes it more likely that the Malagos sticks, and if it doesn't, he's never winning anyway. So he's just going for it, trying to stick now, maybe landing a Floop alongside it, and win through minion damage. It's just not going to work though, and I think Casie is very well positioned to take this game. He is a bit deeper into fatigue though.
Yeah, losing those cards off of the Doom Pact is pretty miserable for Casie, because outside of that, I believe they've pretty much gone card for card. They both played one Naturalize, drawn off of an Ultimate Infestation. They hadn't drawn off Plague, or Branching Paths or Nourishes throughout this game. So Casie could have been going for the fatigue plan. He could have even chose to not play Ultimate Infestation earlier. But I think he realized that with Tom's aggressive game plan, he needs to have the necessary removal tools, lest he just die to something like a Malagos.
Yeah, and Casie, I think, is well positioned to not have to take it to fatigue, or if it does, it's going to be him at a large health total, because he getting the Twig late and having survived this deep into his deck means that he can go for Alex immediately followed by a Twig turn as soon as the Malagos comes into hand, and of course Twig gets enough procs in. He's at a safe enough armor total because, as you said, the Malfurion came very early into the hand.
I love this play from Casie as well, of going for double Wild Growth without playing the excess mana, because he probably doesn't want to draw with them, but he may as well bank his mana by playing the Wild Growth a little bit earlier, and if he needs on one crucial turn to find Malagos, if it's like the bottom card in his deck, he can go for that a little bit sooner. Yeah,
really nice to just get that mana out of the way while he could, and Tom just does the same thing.
Yeah, I like the look of that. I'll do that as well.
I bring life.
The fact that he's a couple of cards ahead in fatigue anyway, though, I don't know if he's necessarily dying as long as he can get armor very quickly.
I think it really depends on what position the Malfurion is in those last 5 cards.
Yeah,
so
you are right. You're right.
Unfortunately, that Malagos was not in the bottom.
This does make me start to wonder if Tom's plan of going full aggression was a little bit too risky in this matchup. Like on the turn where he went for branching paths with a decent sized board for plus attack, maybe we could have seen 1 attack, 1 armor just to give him a bit more resilience against a Malagos combo.
Sure.
Because he has to realize Casie probably has the removal for him.
I do think it's really hard to say, but I think that that play was made in response to seeing an early Malfurion.
That's fair. And if Casie didn't have the Doom Pact, this could be a very different game. Maybe the Malagos would have just stuck around the whole game.
Right, so I am trying to count up damage here, and it looks like Malagos Floop Swipe Moonfire can do quite a lot, but so it's 25, but Tom is at 32. However, the swipe will clear off the board.
Yeah, I think you just go for it as Casie, as long as you're not... Oh no, sorry, you're playing into mind control tech then. Okay, I was going to say as long as you don't play into mind control tech, you're fine. But that's a very, very real concern.
It's true. There's no way to suicide his minions either.
Unless he was to self-naturalize.
I don't hate that, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, what single threats are left in Tom's deck?
He's played Lich King, he's played Alexstrasza, he's played Malagos.
Not to mention, you even make Tom overdraw 1 card because he's at 8 right now.
Yeah.
So I think the play looks really clean. Casie, though, just going to hold off a little bit longer.
I guess this is accomplishing a similar task to what that would do by saying hopefully one of my minions will just die off anyway by sacrificing it in, and that I won't have to go for the self-naturalize, which is a little bit desperate, I will admit.
I wouldn't call it desperate, but not high value here.
Fair,
right? Like, you can very well naturalize one of your opponents in the future. Oh, your opponent's minions in the future if you go for this play.
But we can clearly see if Tom is to go for a line, like as we see here, Malagos into Death and Decay, or the swipe on this turn, it's going to be for Casie to go for his big Malagos turn in response, clear up the entire board, and look like he's going to be in a pretty good spot.
So, my question is, why didn't he swipe there instead? Onto the Lich King?
He would have had to... Oh yeah, he would have had to swipe the Lich King, so it does a little bit less damage to face.
Okay, I guess it doesn't matter because you can still swipe hero power in 1 turn anyway. So.
Yeah, I think it sets up a slight bit of damage.
Yes. So this is going to be 25 to the face for Casie, and he still has this naturalize waiting in the wings to put Tom deeper into fatigue. Tom has already expended that big Malagos combo, and it's way far behind in health, so I think our German player is going to take this pretty cleanly.
Yeah, this is just showing why, well, 2 major things in this matchup. Why Naturalize is so important here, because if you can't answer the Malagos turn, you just lose. And also why usually you just stick to the agreed upon game plan of armoring up as much as possible with branching paths. Hope to find Malfurion as quick as possible definitely helps. But the fact that even though Casie was a little bit behind on fatigue here, just didn't make enough of a difference to save Tom.
Does he die if he plays UI for immediately? I mean, he never loses from here, but I don't think UI kills him. He can win immediately, right?
He has lethal, right? If he goes Naturalize and then
Frostmourne, yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly lethal, I think, yeah.
I like my way better. The risky play, Derek. Live on the edge. You won't know until the 5th tick whether or not it's a draw.
Yours is definitely the cooler play that also definitely leads to a victory. But,
yeah. There you go. Casie is up 2-1, and now he only has to win with his even lock up against the mirror and again against this Malagos Druid from Tom.
Yeah, a couple of pretty good matchups, I would imagine. The Black Knight just offers such unbelievable advantages if you can line it up in the right way, because if you go on the aggressive in that matchup, very often the way that your opponent...
It's inspiring to have this result, but it is practice nonetheless.
They still got through to top 16. That is no small feat.
Sure, yeah, we did have a lot of Swiss going on yesterday.
Yeah.
It's just that my mind has been creating this unrealistic standard for Saiyans wins.
Top 16 is no longer good enough. That's the base standard. That's like breathing for him at this point.
Not the greatest looking hand for Tom here. If he hits a Nourish, suddenly things are looking great, but without that, looks like he's just gonna be an Inspired Druid for the next few turns. Oh, it's a good start.
And Inspired Druid no longer. It's been a while since I've heard that meme.
Yeah, it's an old one, oldie but a goodie.
But it is looking at the moment like it might just be one of those games I was talking about where the Druid just isn't really ever allowed in. The Giant, if it connects phase once, maybe twice here. Okay, Tom has got the perfect draw 2 turns in a row.
Do you remember World Championship? He just kept that UI, no ramp. He just knows.
You can smell what the cards are coming next in deck.
But still, he doesn't have an answer for this Giant.
Oh my god!
I can't speak. This is insane.
What? Get completely
Look at
nothing
Casey's face
rubbish
as well. And he knows it's all coming off the top.
The 3 perfect cards, one after the other. Casey having a laugh here. This is, I think, what he would call the orange hand.
I call it the World Champion hand.
Okay,
or
that's
draw,
right.
rather.
Yeah.
Okay, let's concentrate. Casey can still win.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like this is a decent hand for Tom, but if he goes Lich King next turn, there's still the Black Knight for Casey. We've been having a little bit of fun with this.
True.
As he picks up UI off the top as well for next
He still
turn.
has the
Even
coin.
then, even though this was 5 perfect cards, one after the other, Casey here still looking like he might be able to just aggro Tom out of this game and advance through to the top 8.
Yeah, okay. I didn't notice Tom's already at 15 because of this Giant, and Black Knight is a huge swing, so maybe this perfect draw is a little bit wasted onto the way that the game has played out. Tom will only be down to what I assume is 13. Sorry, 3, what the heck? Why did I just, what the heck? Yeah, 3. I don't think there's any reason for trading off the 4-2 there.
And so if we do see Coin Ultimate Infestation, that will leave Tom dead on board. No matter which way he sends the different effects there.
Yeah. He can technically survive by Alexing his own face and trading away the Shroom Brewer. It's dead to Hellfire, but not sure what else he can do here.
Yep, I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah, from Tom's perspective, if he can just get through this next turn, then the Twig will be active. But Casey has the Hellfire, so it looks like even with this insane series of top decks from Tom, the hand for Casey just got there by turn 7.
That was a bit of a fun way to be going in this series. But like we were saying, the Giant just is too powerful when it is unanswered by a Naturalize. And that does mean that world champion tom60229 is out of HCT Singapore in the top 16. And Casie, with what looked like a pretty favorable matchup here going up against Tom, will be advancing through to the top 8 tomorrow.
Yes, congratulations to Casey, one of